My name's Steve Watson, originally from Cloncurry, born in Cloncurry, but Dad's mob are Gungalita mob from the Gulf, the lower Gulf. Mum's a Chinese Aboriginal descent, so she was born in Camberwell, but her Aboriginal roots are with Wanyi in Dulwich, around Dulwich area. Her father's Cantonese, come over from China in the early or late 1800s, set up near Gregory in Louis Creek, they call it. There was about 8 Chinamen that lived there, big market gardens that supplied all the places, and he moved to Camberwell, started a market garden there, and that's where Mum first saw Dad. Apparently Granddad said to Mum that that's the sort of man you want. He's a nice quiet boy, he don't drink, and he's a good boy. So they end up, getting married. Wasn't a real educated man because they were under the Act back then. He sort of worked with Public Works in Camberwell and they helped build a, what do they call it, post office there. So from that he sort of had that building sort of learning. And when he moved to Cloncurry, they were fringe dwellers, they were. They lived out with all other Aboriginals and Chinamans and Afghans on the edge of town. Ended up renting or staying with an old lady there, Mrs. R. Cup, just a tent in the backyard until they bought a bit of land. Then he built his own house, and 87 years later it's still standing, still in Cloncurry. He's passed on now, but Mum's still alive. She's 87, 88, so yeah, and I get an education in Cloncurry, not a good one. I was more interested in lunches and sports, but yeah, sort of after that they sort of said push yourself a bit, so I came up and got an apprenticeship with the mines here. Never sort of moved away from here very far, back to Cloncurry after I finished my trade, but then came back, had kids, 2 boys, just did the family, the usual thing, you know, buy yourself a house, have kids, get married, back to front, but that's the way we do it. Boys grew up, sort of had a lot to do with them. When they played sports and that, their school life, sort of try to put in as much as I could through between work and that. Coached a couple of their sides, soccer and football, rugby league. Sort of tried to instill in them what Dad sort of instilled in me, you know, hard work gets you somewhere. No one's going to give you money, you've got to earn it. So yeah, they are. The eldest boy's 25 and he's finished his apprenticeship now. I must say he's probably a better fitter than I am, but I've got experience, so that sort of holds me instead there. But yeah, the young fella, he started his apprenticeship, but the company that he was with sort of went downhill a bit, so he stopped his apprenticeship and is just working over in the mines at the moment, and trying to get back into it and finish it. Yeah, that's probably about it. Now that's where I'm at the situation, waiting for grandkids. Which I'll spoil terribly, don't worry about that.
They call that grandparents' payback.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said to him, I want to buy them all the noisy toys I can, because that's just getting you back for what you've put me through.
Mentorship, tell me about mentorship, Aboriginal mentorship, or just parental? Or...
Well, I do, as a tradesman, or even as a coach in football and soccer, I don't distinguish between black or white. A majority of the kids that I look after are Murrays, but that doesn't worry me. I'll give it to white as well as black. It sort of, that's no distinguish, but every kid needs mentoring, and good mentoring outside their family. You know, they might have the best father and mother, but they might be able to talk to Mum and Dad. Whereas if you're someone there as a coach or a tradesman, you know, are you having trouble, mate? You know, them sort of things. The are you okay? I had, while I was out at Mica Creek, we had 2 apprentices. One of them was having trouble at home. Mum and Dad were working well-paid jobs and that, but they were getting money off him to help with the payments and that, because they were living outside their means. They probably didn't see it, but he was coming to me and saying, you know, look, I'm down, I'm this and that. So I'd make, you know, I'd take leftover tea in, so I'd take a little container for him and just give it to him and say, here, look, have this, bro. And he'd eat it and be grateful and all that. Well, he's at uni now, he's finished his trade, he's a pretty good tradesman, so pretty savvy, but he's one of these tech in the head, you know, really good with computers. That well, he's in James Cook now doing IT side of engineering, so that's a good thing. And then there's another young fellow that was Aboriginal that was having trouble because he had trouble at TAFE with learning, you know, and maths and all that sort of stuff. So we sort of took him aside, and coming from the old school, we taught them all fractions, how to break fractions into decimal points. And they were saying, well, what's 3/4, you know? Well, and then we'd show them all, so they were savvy to all that. And now when they're out there and they talk 3/4 and 1.5 and that, they know, and they can convert it in their head to metric, and I straight away, you know, it's 1.5. Oh, that's 30 mil. And that's the sort of stuff. And they come back to you, and this is the only reward I want, is they come back to you and say, you know, you made me the tradesman I am, which is good. And sort of, it makes you prouder. And it's like when my son started out at Mica Creek, as I said to him, to the planner, don't put him with me, he knows the way I work. I want him to see all the other tradesmen so he can take a bit off them and then understand how I work. And he, Indigenous Apprentice of the Year, it was 2014, Queensland, Northern Territory, and got into the, I think it was like 6th or 7th in the Nationals, which I burst with pride.